Let's be real for a moment. For years, men have been made to believe that their worth as a man, especially in relationships, comes down to just one thing: size. The internet jokes about it, music videos glamorize it, and locker room talk makes it sound like that's all that matters. And so many men walk around carrying silent insecurity, measuring their value not by their character, not by their drive, not by the love they can give, but by a number. But here's the truth: women are not as shallow as the world wants you to believe. What they actually want goes far beyond inches. They crave presence. They crave security. They crave a man who can stand tall not just physically, but emotionally. Think about it. When she laughs with you until 2 a.m., when she rests her head on your chest and feels safe, when she sees you chasing your dreams with fire in your eyes, do you really think she's calculating measurements in her head? No. She's asking herself one thing: does this man make me feel seen, loved, and alive? So today, we're cutting through the noise. We're diving deep into what women truly want. And by the end of this, you'll realize it was never about inches. It was always about impact. From the time you were a teenager, you've probably heard it. The jokes, the whispers, the comparisons. Somewhere along the line, society decided that the true measure of a man's worth was not his heart, his ambition, or his ability to love, but the size of something he has no control over. And so, the myth was born. Movies glamorize it. Music reduces women's desires to a single number. Even conversations among men fuel the insecurity. Bro, you gotta be this big to really satisfy a woman. It's a lie that has been repeated so many times that countless men now live under the crushing weight of silent inadequacy. But here's the reality. The obsession with inches is not about women. It's about a distorted standard created by media and ego-driven culture. Ask yourself this: if size was truly all that mattered, why do so many women stay with men who don't fit society's so-called ideal? Why do long-term relationships and marriages thrive not because of physical measurements, but because of emotional connection, trust, and shared values? The truth is simple: women may be curious about size, but they don't stay for size. They stay for how you make them feel. They stay because when life gets heavy, you're the man who holds them together. They stay because you give them consistency, laughter, protection, and passion. And yet, so many men waste their best years chasing validation in the wrong direction. They compare themselves to others they feel less than. And in that state of insecurity, they pull away from the very relationships they long for. They hide when in fact they should rise. Understand this. The myth of inches is one of society's cruelest tricks. It convinces men to ignore the things that actually make them high value: confidence, presence, emotional depth, and purpose. When you finally free yourself from this lie, something powerful happens. You stop comparing. You stop apologizing for being you. And you begin to realize that the true size that matters is not measured in inches. It's measured in the depth of your character, the strength of your vision, and the way you make her feel when she's with you. That's the truth society never told you. If you ask most women what truly keeps them in a relationship, they won't talk about money, looks, or size. They'll tell you about a feeling, a sense of safety. Not just the safety of walking down a dark street with you by their side, but the safety of knowing they can bare their soul to you without judgment. The safety of knowing that when life breaks them down, they won't have to face it alone. See, a lot of men think women are complicated. But at the core, women want what all humans want: to be seen, to be understood, and to feel secure. Emotional safety is when she knows she can cry in your arms without you pulling away. It's when she shares her fears and you don't belittle her, but instead reassure her. It's when she makes mistakes and you don't throw them in her face, but you stand beside her as she learns and grows. This is the size that truly matters, because emotional safety makes intimacy deeper, conversations richer, and connections unshakable. Without it, she will never fully let her guard down. And if a woman cannot trust you with her emotions, she will never give you her heart completely. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how a woman glows when she feels loved and secure? That glow doesn't come from gifts or trips. It comes from the invisible comfort of knowing, I can rest here. I can trust him. He's my safe place. But here's the challenge: a man can't create emotional safety if he himself is unstable. If you're insecure, defensive, or easily angered, she will never feel safe. If you run from your own emotions, how can you hold space for hers? This is why building emotional safety begins with you. It begins with mastering your own emotions, learning to listen instead of react, and choosing patience over pride. When a woman feels emotionally safe, physical attraction skyrockets, passion deepens, respect grows, and loyalty becomes effortless. Because why would she look elsewhere when she already has a home for her soul in you? Men, remember this: the real strength of a man isn't in how loud he roars, but in how deeply he makes the people he loves feel safe. That's the kind of size women never forget. One of the greatest gifts you can ever give a woman is not your money, not your looks, and not even your words. It's your presence. In a world filled with constant distractions, phones buzzing, social media feeds never ending, and work pulling us in 1,000 directions, being truly present has become rare. And because it's rare, it's powerful. Presence is not just about being in the same room with her. It's about giving her your undivided attention, making her feel like in that moment, she is the only person who matters. When she speaks and you look into her eyes instead of at your screen, that's presence. When you listen to understand instead of listening to reply, that's presence. When you put down the noise of the world just to hold space for her, that's presence. Here's the truth: women remember how you make them feel. And nothing makes a woman feel more valued than knowing she is seen and heard. Presence communicates respect. It communicates love. It communicates that she is worth your time, your most precious resource. Think about it. How many relationships die not because of betrayal, but because one partner simply stopped showing up fully? He was there physically, but emotionally absent. He nodded during conversations, but his mind was somewhere else. And little by little, she stopped sharing her heart, because what's the point of speaking when no one is really listening? But when a man is fully present, something incredible happens. She feels secure. She feels cherished. She feels chosen. And that, more than any gift, any trip, or any grand gesture, makes her fall deeper in love. But presence isn't just for her, it's also for you. Because when you practice presence, you unlock deeper connections, richer conversations, and stronger bonds. You begin to notice details you would have otherwise missed. You become more grounded, more in tune, and more alive. Men, hear this clearly. Your presence is your power. The ability to silence the noise, put your phone down, look into her eyes, and just be there. That's what builds intimacy. That's what builds trust. That's what makes a woman feel like she's not just with a man, but with her man. So ask yourself, when she's with you, does she feel second place to the world? Or does she feel like the world disappears when she's with you? One of the most damaging habits a man can fall into is comparison. Looking at another man's success, his appearance, his possessions, or even the way women respond to him, and then shrinking within yourself, thinking, I'll never measure up. But here's the hard truth: comparison is a thief. It robs you of your peace, it blinds you to your own strengths, and it convinces you that who you are will never be enough. And the moment you begin to believe that lie, your confidence begins to erode. Yet, confidence, not comparison, is what truly draws people in. Women don't want a man who is constantly competing with everyone around him, always measuring himself by someone else's standard. They want a man who is secure in who he is. A man who owns his flaws, embraces his strengths, and refuses to apologize for being himself. Confidence is magnetic because it communicates certainty. When you walk into a room with your head held high, not because you're the richest or the best looking, but because you know your value, people feel it. And women, especially, feel it. Here's the secret. Confidence isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about authenticity. It's saying, this is me. I may not have everything, but what I do have, I own fully. That kind of energy is irresistible, because it frees a woman to be herself too. But when you live in comparison, you project insecurity. You try too hard to prove yourself. You overcompensate. And instead of drawing her closer, you push her away. Because no woman feels safe with a man who is at war with himself. So the challenge is this: stop looking left and right and start looking inward. Build your confidence not on what others have, but on what you bring to the table. Develop yourself. Sharpen your mind, strengthen your spirit, walk in your purpose. When you do that, comparison loses its grip on you. Remember, women aren't searching for the man who has everything. They're searching for the man who owns himself completely. The man who doesn't crumble under pressure. The man who isn't shaken by the success of others. The man who knows that his value is not determined by competition, but by conviction. Confidence is not about being better than the next man. It's about being the best version of yourself. That's the kind of man no woman forgets. Men often think women are attracted to looks, money, or charm. And yes, those things may spark initial interest. But what truly sustains attraction, what makes a woman's eyes light up with admiration, is a man with purpose. Purpose is direction. Purpose is clarity. Purpose is waking up in the morning with a reason bigger than yourself. And when a man walks in purpose, his entire energy changes. He no longer chases validation because he is too busy chasing his vision. He no longer begs for attention because his mission naturally commands respect. Women are drawn to men with purpose because it communicates stability. A man with purpose isn't lost. He knows where he's going, and that makes a woman feel safe joining him on the journey. She doesn't want to carry a man who has no vision. She wants to walk beside a man who knows who he is and where he's headed. Think about it. When you're focused on building, growing, and pursuing something meaningful, your presence becomes magnetic. You don't even have to announce it. People can feel it. There's a fire in your eyes, a conviction in your words, a discipline in your actions. And women, by nature, are drawn to that kind of energy. But here's the danger. Too many men make women their purpose. They pour all of themselves into pleasing her, chasing her, making her the center of their universe. And while it may sound romantic, it actually destroys attraction. Because no woman wants to be your only source of identity. She wants to be a part of your mission, not the whole mission. Your purpose must come first. Whether it's building a career, mastering a craft, impacting lives, or growing spiritually, when you prioritize purpose, you become a man who cannot be ignored. A man who doesn't just exist, but leads. And here's the beautiful part. When you stand in your purpose, the right woman will want to stand with you. She won't compete with it. She will complement it. Because a woman feels most cherished when she knows she is walking beside a man who is building something bigger than both of them. Men never forget money fades, looks fade, status fades. But purpose is eternal. And that's the magnet women can't resist. Too often, men reduce intimacy to the physical. They think it's all about performance, about technique, about how long they can last or how much they can impress. But the truth is, intimacy is not just about bodies, it's about souls. And when you understand this, everything changes. A woman can sleep with a man and still feel empty. She can be physically close, yet